Hey everybody, this is Renee from Keeping Your Heart, and I am doing a live check-in because, hey, there's been a lot going on. So I just wanted to take a moment to say hello and let you know what's going on with me, what's going on with the channel, and have an honest conversation and dialogue as much as we can. So that means you have to comment in order for us to have this dialogue, but to talk about what is happening next. So for those who don't know, this is Keeping Your Heart. If you haven't been here before, we are about exploring the ways that we can walk alongside people in their suffering as they're on a healing journey. That brings me to a little bit about what's been going on. So it's May 31st, 2020, and there's a lot that's happening in our cities, in our world. Um, we've had a very strange existence for the last 10 weeks. In that, we have learned a lot about ourselves, hopefully. We've learned a lot about ourselves in community and as families. And my hope is that this message, when you watch it, that you're watching it in health. That would be my hope for you. We also have a lot of civil unrest occurring, um, and I want to talk about both of those things and a little bit about the channel. So the channel up until this point has really been self-care practices, things, organizational practices, things that have helped us to sustain in the hard work of walking alongside people. And we're going to take a pivot for a little bit, and we're going to talk about trauma-informed practices and trauma-informed care, because this is right at the heart of these two things that are coming together here on May 31st, 2020. And while I firmly believe in everything that Keeping Your Heart has been about, I think that we need to bring in some of this conversation to address the secondary and vicarious trauma that we're experiencing because of this collective trauma. Um, the secondary and vicarious trauma from our kiddos and from other people who've experienced trauma, whether that is in the child welfare system, whether it is through historical trauma and racial trauma and poverty and all of these other factors which we are seeing. There's trauma. And so that's when we are trying to help people go through a healing process about that, or we're trying to heal ourselves. That's where we're looking at PTSD and complex PTSD and other types of trauma that have left their mark. And this is not a thing, trauma is not a thing that we just get over. It is a process, and it requires people from outside of ourselves. So if we've been on this journey walking alongside people, we know that it takes our mindful and safe and loving relationship and repeated experiences of safety in order for us to get to a place of healing. And that's why we've had this channel, right? So that we can talk about how do we sustain in that? How do we keep ourselves mindful and deal with our stuff? But we got to go a little deeper. We have to go deeper because there's more discussion to be had here. So for the next couple of months, we're gonna switch the conversation up, and there will be more videos that are focused on where is this trauma coming from? How do we address it? How do we heal? What can we do? There is no way forward that is going to result in anything good happening unless we start to have this honest conversation about the risks of trauma, the risk factors, how it happens, about the prevalence. Do you know the majority of people have experienced at least one adverse childhood experience? That's right. So we have brains that are adapted to trauma because things are getting worse and worse, and trauma is passed on intergenerationally. And if we don't start to address it, we don't start breaking that cycle, we are going to have more and more days like now, like today, when here in the county of Los Angeles, we're under curfew. Um, and while I'm not coming out of a place of fear, I'm coming out of a place of this is not okay, and we cannot allow systems that are built on perpetuating fear and suffering, and all of those things continue. And so we all have a part in this. That feeling that we had for those first few weeks of COVID when things were going sideways and we started saying things like, we're all in this together. We need to be all in this together. We need to understand that part of what we've seen is that there's more and more disparities that are just more prevalent now, that we haven't seen before. But COVID helped us to see that, and COVID helped us to realize that maybe some of our production and consumption are not the epitome of who we are supposed to be in this world, but that what is important is each other, and what is important is family and connection. And so if family doesn't feel safe for you, let's talk about how do we redeem family, and how do we um, really find ways to be safe community and safe environments for each other. So that's a little bit about where we're going. For us, we've had a tremendous 10 weeks. In my day job, the things that I do for my normal job, it's been 12 and 13-hour days. I think the longest one I had was 16 hours, and I don't want to do that again because I'm too old to continue to do 16-hour days. But the need is so great, and we can't turn away. We can't be connected human beings that are bringing out the best in ourselves and the best in people, and moving towards who we were meant to be, and that truth of who we were meant to be, if we are ignoring the pain of those around us. Um, so it has been a growing time. It's been a time of learning to do things in a new way. And yeah, it's, this is the danger of things that are live, is that when the words don't exactly come, or they don't come in the right order. But I just think that there are too many important lessons that we learned in the last 10 weeks to throw them out the door when there are other difficulties that come up. So I invite you to be on this journey with me. I invite you to participate in the conversation, and I invite you to really open yourself up to discovering the ways in which we can do things better. So let's have this dialogue. Let's allow yourself to go into places that you haven't been in the conversation, and invite other people into it. So I have no interest in making people. I don't want to, fear is not the driving factor here. Actually, love is, right? So for anyone who's traveled with me for any amount of time, for me, the greatest of these is love, and that how we treat other is really important. And if it's not out of love, it's worth nothing. So, yeah, I know this was not the most coherent of my communications to you. I'm like, my skin's awful. I have very little makeup on, but there's an urgency to this. There's not a whole lot of time to for me to wait and make things perfect. And this is why you haven't had any videos from me in the last couple of months, because I've had to pull back and say, what is the most important thing for us to talk about? Yes, do I still bullet journal? You better believe it. That's how I'm keeping sane. Do I still do happy mail? Yes, I do. This is part of how I'm showing my love to other people. But is this the most important thing? Maybe not. Maybe we need to have more videos like focusing on our family mottos, and drilling down on what's important, and pushing into that a little more. And all of the other stuff, the stuff that requires us to go to Michael's, Joann's, and do artistic creative things, those are important expressions. But I think we're just at a place where we need to have some more serious conversations. So if you have questions on what this could look like, or there are things that you are hoping that I bring up, please put those in the comments below. Send me messages. Go to my website. Send me a message through there. It's reneemdupuy.com. Let me know the types of things that we are going to talk about. We're going to talk about trauma, the different types of trauma. We're going to talk about the prevalence. we're going to talk about how it affects our brains and how it affects our ability to communicate and to reason and to um, uh, understand each other. And just so you know, just to be really clear, there is no us and those people over there that have trauma. We have all lived through a collective trauma in the last 10 weeks, and the things that you have felt, the lack of control, the frustration, the confusion, the depression, the mourning, the grief and loss, all of that is what people who have experienced trauma in childhood and who are part of this have experienced in their whole history. Okay, so you get this opportunity to have a glimpse into this. Has not been part of your experience. If that's not how your brain has adapted, this is you getting to experience part of that. And I invite you to push into that, and to heal from that, and for you to be part of the solution going forward. So that's all that I'm going to talk about today. I hope that you are all well. I hope that you are safe. I grieve with those who grieve and mourn with those who mourn. And we are doing our own mourning in this house of people with brown bodies as well. So, and if this um, upsets you because you really wanted to come and learn about bullet journaling and you're like, wow, like this is bait and switch, I apologize and I ask you to hang in here with me, and I will draw a line between the two of those. But we have to do better. We have to do better. And this is the time for us to come together and talk about how we understand better and walk alongside each other better and make change and love better. So, again, hope you are well. And I can't wait to hear from you. Thank you.